الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah, first thing He informed us of the importance of fasting in our life. كتب عليكم الصيام. That fasting has been prescribed for you people, is made obligatory for you people. As we may call it, it became fard on you people. كتب عليكم الصيام. So the first thing we know is the hukum of the fasting, that it is fard and we have to keep the fast. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that you are not the only people who have to fast. كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم. This fast was prescribed on the nations before you also. Anbiya alayhim as-salatu was-salam that came before Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they also taught their ummahs the importance of fasting. And not only they just advised them to fast, in fact, كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. As it is fard on us, it was fard on the nations before us too. This is to tell us the importance of the fasting. It's such an important ibadah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I made this fasting fard on the nations before you also. In other words, you cannot imagine having an ummah that is trying to do the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without a fast. Every ummah had fasting as part of their ibadah, part of their deen. And fasting was fard on all the ummahs before us, as it is fard on us. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informing us of this? So that we realize how important of ibadah this is. It's such an important ibadah that any nation, in fact, any person who wants to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who would like to establish the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has to observe this ibadah. This ibadah is a very important mean of getting us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ittaqu Allaha wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasila. O you who believe, have the taqwa of Allah. Wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasila. And find your way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person has the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will start looking for ways that will get him closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wasila, ways that can be used for something. Ibtaghu ilayhi al-wasila. Find your way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep on looking for ways that will get you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this ayah that fasting is a very important way of getting us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connecting us with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? We will learn that inshallah in the next portion of the ayah. After telling us these important facts about fasting, the hukum of it, and not only hukum for us, hukum for all the ummahs, for all the nations, that this was fard for the ummahs before us also, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the reason behind it. The reason for which I made fast fard on you people and on the ummah before you is so that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you become the people of taqwa. We know that fasting will make us the people of taqwa. What is people of taqwa? What does it mean when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ? So that you become the people of taqwa. Taqwa is not a name of few rak'ahs that we can offer and then I can say that now I became a very person who's full of taqwa. It's not a name of a special type of dress or a special ibadah that I can perform or a special type of behavior that I can keep my head down for a few days and then I can say that now I got the taqwa. Taqwa is not a name of few things that we can just point our fingers at that this is taqwa. All of these things are part of taqwa. Taqwa is a name of a complete life of a human being. Taqwa is a lifestyle. Taqwa is a complete life. What does this person do from morning to evening? What does he do when he wakes up? How does this person spend his day? How does he use his time? How does he deal with people? How does he deal with his relatives? How does he deal with enemies? How does he take care of the needy people? All of these things, everything that a person does in his life, the complete life of a person, when you take the whole life, after looking at the complete life, then we can say if this is a life of taqwa or not. Taqwa is not a name of only few things. It's a complete way of life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to live the life of taqwa in this world. And in order for us to have that life of taqwa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have prescribed different ibadahs. Now at this point here, I would like to pose this topic and remind you of something that we were talking about yesterday. Because this is connected to that and this will make it easier for us to understand what we were talking about yesterday. And that is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this world for human beings and created human beings for the ibadah. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this world so that human beings will be established over here and do the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala peacefully without any disturbance. This is what this world is for. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed this world in such a way that ibadah is part of this life and part of this world. When the ibadah would come out of the life, would come out of this world will be useless. There will be no use for this world anymore. Each and everything that is in existence, beautiful buildings, nice gardens, flowers, these tasty fruits, and every other thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have created in this world, whether they are to be used as provision for human beings or just to entertain human beings, all of these things, the purpose behind all of these things is so that the ibadah will keep on going on in this world. There is a hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that I enjoy performing the salah in the garden. Normally, when a person goes to a garden, it's the nature of a human being That when you see beautiful things over there, you see the greenery, you see the flowers, you see nice plants, you see the birds. All of these things, they open up the person's heart and mind and you feel good. What this feeling good is for? Is it to commit sin? Now I'm feeling good so I can do something wrong? All of this is so that this person will enjoy these things, and now after relaxing through these things, he can do the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a better way. The person is eating food, get the energy for what? So all of these things are to support us to do the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the whole world is designed in such a way that ibadah is part of this world. When the ibadah is taken out of this world, then this whole universe becomes useless. Everything in this world becomes useless because it's not being put to use for the purpose it was created for. So ibadah is not extra thing that a person would do, that if we do it, you get barakah, you get khair, you get good things, you get reward. And if you don't do it, then you are fine in this world. No, you won't even be fine. We won't even be fine in this world if we stay away from the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibadah is not only so that we earn some reward and get some barakah. This is part of this life. As this world is designed, this is part of the designing of this world, that this ibadah has to be there, because when ibadah will not be there, then there will be always corruption and destruction in this world. All the problems, all the corruption, all the evils, every difficulty, every problem, the source of it is disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never bring destruction in life. So the ibadah is not only for increasing khair and barakah. Yes, khair and barakah will come through the ibadah. But this is part of this world. Once it goes out, then all the fasad will come. Then all the other creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would like to destroy human beings, they would like to finish human beings, they would like to finish everything, because they are not being used for the purpose they were created for. So ibadah is part of the designing of this world. This is something that we have to understand, and not only that we have to understand, when this understanding will come into our mind, and when we can explain this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this manner to those who are turning away from deen, and especially to those of our people who consider these things to be extra things, and these things to be just a form of getting more khair and barakah, and just to have life of taqwa means, you are a better one. And a lot of time this is why people say, I'm not a very muttaqi person. You tell someone, how come you're eating this? I don't have as much taqwa as you do. They consider this to be something in addition to things that are needed in their life. Okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not into taqwa too much. You tell someone, these pictures, whatever you have over there, this is haram, or someone who's doing something that is haram, you tell them, I don't have that much taqwa as you do. So they consider these to be extra things in our lives. Whereas in reality, these are not extras. This is what we need to understand. This is part of the life. It's just like someone telling us, how come you're taking your eyes out? You see someone who's trying to get rid of his eyes. Why are you taking, I don't have that much taqwa as you do. This is why, I don't need these eyes. I'm just taking them out. I'm not a perfect human being like you are. Someone tries to burn his own hand. Why are you burning yourself? I'm not a good human being like you are. So this is why I don't think I really need these hands. I can be a human being without a hand. This is exactly what these things mean. that when a person says, I'm not as muttaqi as you are. If you are not, then you have to be working harder. If a person is at a place where there is light and is able to see things around him, although the light is very dim, at least this person has some light. But now you go to a very dark room and you tell that person, how can you see? Why don't you put some light on? Oh, I don't care too much about light. So I'll just try to struggle by banging my head here and there. Finally, if I get somewhere, I'll get there. A person who does not have no light at all, he needs more light. He has to work harder to get some light. A person who has some light, at least he has something. When we feel that I'm a sinner or I'm not a person of taqwa, then I have to work harder on myself so that I get it. Now I should not be looking at you that if he's not working that hard, then I'm not going to work that hard either, because I'm already saying that I don't have taqwa as much as you do. So if you have more than me, then I need to work harder than you do. But normally we take it to the opposite way. That I don't have this much taqwa, so I don't have to work at all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He made ibadah part of this life, He told us how this ibadah can be used so that it will become part of this life and it will become a mean of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and keeping ourselves away from all the fitna and fasad, from all the destruction, from all the evils that are in the world. How to protect ourselves from all of those things. This ayah of Quran very nicely explains it. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. That fasting has become obligatory on you as it was on the people before you, so that you become the people of taqwa. Let's quickly look into the ayah and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how beautifully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining to us that, oh human beings, you can work on yourself and clean yourself, purify yourself, and you can be a person that when people will look at you, they won't consider your existence to be a hardship, to be a difficulty for them, to be a problem for them. In fact, people will enjoy seeing you. In simple words, we may say that people, instead of considering you to be a thorn in the garden of the world, they will look at you to be a flower in this garden of the world. Human beings will be considered to be the flower in this world. That you enjoy having human beings in the world. As we see, we were talking about yesterday, that normally when people will start studying the problems and the cause of problem in the world, everyone realizes it's from human beings. And then they consider these human beings to be the source of every evil and to be the evil themselves, and their existence to be the evil itself. And therefore, then that at least they come up with conclusions that we have to get rid of human beings. And this is why, as technology advances, we find countries that are so proud to say that we have so much weapons of mass destruction that we can destroy the whole world 10 times. People are so happy that, we have so much that we can destroy the whole world 10 times. If there are 10 worlds like this, we can destroy it. So what are we going to get by destroying it? Let's go out and live in the moon now. But who's going to live in the moon? Human beings. Who else are we going to take with us? That's not the solution for it. The solution is, as Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam have prescribed, that make these human beings to be the flowers in the garden of the world. People will enjoy having human beings around them. People will love to have the company of these people. People will look forward for these type of people. Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Fasting became fard and obligatory on you. through fasting you will become the people of taqwa. Scholars have explained how does this fasting plays the role of making human beings the people of taqwa. How would that happen? What is it what ingredients have been placed in this fasting that when a person would use this fasting, his life will become the life of taqwa? The ingredients are very simple. They are very extremely simple. But of course, if we pay a little attention to it, we will understand how do these ingredients work on human life. And once we will understand that, we will be able to understand how really to protect our fast and get the maximum benefit of this fast. Scholars like Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi and many others after him also went into the details to explain this. And they explain in their own ways, in their own wordings, and of course according to the time and understanding of the people, they try to make people understand how fasting works in people's life and what is it that we have in fasting that will make people the people of taqwa. And of course then the second thing will come is when people become the people of taqwa, what will be the result of that? But at this time, we would like to understand how does fasting work in our life and how does fasting plays its role in making people to be the people of taqwa. In the ta'lim, there was a sentence used in one of the books that human beings have two elements in it, malakutiyat or bahimiyat. I think this was repeatedly mentioned in a couple of books. As I said, scholars throughout, they try to explain in different ways and words. Whoever used these two words, they really dug very deep into the reality of human beings and reality of this deen, and they told us this fact that explains everything. But of course, according to the need of the time, we may need to go in some more details now to understand what does this mean. If you look at the human beings, at the creation of human beings, there are two different elements in the creation of human beings. One is the physical body that came from the dust. مِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ. We created you from this dust, we will put you back into the same dust. خَلَقَكُمْ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. He created you from dust. مِنْ طِينٍ, from clay. As this body, the physical body that comes from the dust, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts all the needs of this physical body, He has placed them into the dust. All the needs for this physical body are being fulfilled from the dust and from this ground. All the vegetables, all the growth, animals, they are from dust, they eat from dust. All of these things, they come from there and they nourish the physical body because this body came from there and the nourishment also comes from there. Nourishment from this body comes from there. We have beautiful, beautiful perfumes. If we look at the source of these perfumes, it's all from the same dust. It's not that a spatial type of rain, clouds will move out and from Jannah we will get a rain that will have fragrance in it. It's all from the same dust. Even this water that is coming from cloud, it recycles. It's down from there, from here, from our world. Everything is just coming from the same thing. All the beautiful creams lotions, all the means of beauty, all of this is from the same dust. No other source. And when we start looking at the ingredients, some of the very expensive makeups for the women, that they use it very importantly in their lives. If you look at the ingredients, sometimes you even find that there is something from the pig that is used in it. All of these things come from the same place. From animals, from plants, from the same dust. These things can never fulfill the need of our ruh, of our soul. Because this ruh it did not come from the dust. When we look at this part of human being being from this dust. When we look at our physical body, ignore the ruh for a minute. We will realize human being is nothing more than just being one of the animals that lives in this world. Needs the same food for survival. Needs air to breathe. Needs water to drink. Needs to get married. Needs children. Needs bathroom. I mean, all of these needs that are attached to animals, they are attached to human beings. It's just like nothing, no difference. Yes, we may see that we have some very special languages that we speak. And let those animals be proud of their languages also, because they communicate amongst each other too. Human being is nothing but an animal like other animals. Yes, with some extra features. Car is a car. You can have some extra buttons in it that will do things automatically for you. But after all, it's nothing but a car. This is, when we look at human beings from this angle, this is what exactly human beings are. This is what you call it, bahimiyat. That like animals. And accordingly, like animals, human beings will be looking for food throughout the day, would like to eat, would like to fulfill all the desires, lust, and then use the bathroom, just like animals. But because of having little sense, if even that this is also for those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bless them with, they try to look for clothing to cover their bodies with. And when Allah takes that understanding away too, then even that goes away. No difference. But now when we look at the other element in the creation of human beings, and that is ruh. When we look at the ruh of a human being, the ruh about which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's such a thing that we all have it. But it's so high above our understanding that there is no way we can even understand our own ruh. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. They ask you about the reality of ruh. Tell them, ruh is nothing but amr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an order from Allah. وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. You have a very little knowledge, so you can't understand your ruh. This human being who tries to understand Allah, he cannot even understand his own ruh. We want to understand the hikmah of Allah. Why Allah said do salah. Why 4 rak'ahs? Why 2 rak'ahs? We want to understand the hikmah of Allah. We can't even understand ourselves. In fact, I think there are more things about human beings that are not known than things that are known up to this day. Human beings are so deep. Just our thoughts. It's a world by itself. It travels so fast, wanders all around the world. Not to talk about dreams now. That's another world by itself. So, human beings are very deep the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created human beings. We can't even understand ourselves. So this ruh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about this ruh that it's something above your understanding. Not only this, He tells us the reason behind it also, because this ruh did not come from this dust. Your brain Our brain, what is made out of? From this dust. I think they say more than 90% is water, or whatever that percentage may be. I mean, what is it other than something from this dust? How can this brain that is so small, made from this dust, can understand something that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that is ruh, that is not something that cannot be, something that cannot be grasped by our senses. No one can claim that I have seen the ruh. No one can claim I have touched the ruh. I have smelled the ruh. I have tasted the ruh. No. It's out of our control. We can't grasp it by our senses. And if we cannot, then how can our brain even function in that direction? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, He said to the malaika, to the angels, that I'm about to create a human being. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُمْ, once I make him, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, and I blow my ruh into him. فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ, then you do the sajdah for him. Don't do the sajdah, فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُمْ, once I make his body. Because that body will have no function, nothing of any use, until when the ruh will get into it. وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, once I blow the ruh into him, then only you do the sajdah. Not before that. These are two elements in the creation of human being. Sawaitu made the body, perfected the body of human being with that perfect body. Complete and a perfect body. Still, he is not a complete human being until he will have the ruh into him. Once the ruh was blown into Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, then he was considered to be the real human being, and now the order was given, do the sajdah for Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. So the dust, the body came from the dust. And accordingly we resemble animals in all of those things because their creation is the same way. Ruh came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And accordingly, the nourishment for this ruh comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from above there. The nourishment of this ruh cannot come from dust. This dust does not have the energy, the power to nourish the ruh. It does not have it. So the nourishment for this ruh comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the dhikr of Allah, Quran al-Kareem, recitation of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the words of Allah. It came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It did not come from the dust. It came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The spirituality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have placed in all the ibadah, all of this comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in other words, we can say this deen, the wahi, the revelation came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the malaika. All of this came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It wasn't that if you dig at a certain point of the land, then you will get some wahi from there. Wahi doesn't come from here. Wahi comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The source is the same of the ruh. So the source of the ruh and of the wahi is the same. It all comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that wahi nourishes our ruh and our soul. When we look now, if for a second a person will put aside his physical body and we will look just at our ruh, at the originality of this ruh, where it came from, and the nourishment of this ruh, a person may come to the conclusion that this, according to looking at the ruh, human beings are just like angels. They don't need any physical nourishment. They don't need any of the food for the ruh to survive. Someone may have a question that, if we don't eat, then a person dies. Doesn't that mean that ruh will suffer? No. That doesn't mean that the ruh have died. This ruh doesn't die. That is nothing but ruh departing the body. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِ. When I created him, once I have created him and blow my ruh into him, which means that this body is there. Ruh comes into the body, we say this person is alive. Ruh departs the body, we say this person is dead. But the ruh doesn't die. So when we look at the ruh of a human being, it looks like this human being really resembles angels in everything. So then the question is, what is human being? Is it something like an animal or something like angels? There is a question that has been raised in the books of Aqidah. And that is, what is the Aqidah of a mu'min? Who is greater? Human beings or angels? And the answer to that the leaders of human beings, like Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, are greater than the leaders of the angels. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is greater than Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam. Greater than all the angels, than all the malaika. He is the leader of all the creatures. Sayyidul Khalq. So when human beings they start working on their ruh, if the ruh will rule this life, then human being, their life become like the life of angels in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and getting the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when the physical body rules this life, if the physical body will rule the life, then human beings will live like animals. It all depends now, what is stronger? If the physical body is stronger, then physical body will rule the ruh and will tell the ruh what to do. If ruh is stronger, then this ruh will rule and will tell the physical body of what to do. For us, in most of our situation, our physical body is stronger than ruh. Therefore, when the body needs rest and the ruh needs food, this body tells the ruh that I'm tired. You can't get up for salah. Go to sleep. And ruh has no choice but to give up and go to sleep and submit itself to the body because it's very weak. The one that is ruling the life of this person is the physical body, which means the animal of his life. But if the ruh will rule, we see in the life of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, especially the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and of course Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in who learned the lessons from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When we read in the hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is fasting continuously for 3 days. In between these 3 days, he does not eat or drink anything at all. What does this mean? When he was asked, Ya Rasulullah, can we do the same? He said, no, you shouldn't do that. إِنَّمَا يُطْعِمُنِي رَبِّي وَيَسْقِينِي. Allah provides me with food and drink. How? This ruh is so strong that it can tell this body that I won't give you food. You can't even have a water. 3 days, no water, no food at all. Feet are swollen. The body says, I'm too tired. Not only tired, my feet are swollen. Nothing can touch it. How can you put your whole weight on me now and stand on these feet? You can't do that. Have some rest. And the ruh says, no. I need that food. My nourishment is there. جَعَلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ. My peace of mind in salah. I'm getting up regardless of what happens to you. When the ruh is swollen and it all has bruises all over and is tired and says to the body that I need something for us, the ruh gives up. The ruh cannot get it. The ruh says, I need some salah. The body says, no, you can't get it. I need some medication. You can't get it. Go to sleep. Have rest. So it all depends on what rules our life. Is it the physical body that is making us resemble, that is creating the resemblance with animals? Or is it the ruh that is making us closer to the malaika? If this is stronger, then this is what is going to lead this person's life and rule this person's life. This person is going to live like animals if body is the one that is mainly ruling the life. And this person is going to live like animals. And if it is the other part, the ruh, that is mainly ruling, then of course this person will live that type of life. Pure life, clean life. Now, once we understand this, we'll look at the ayah of Quran al-Kareem, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about fasting. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. This will teach us why fasting will bring a person closer to Allah. Why through fasting a person can live the life of taqwa. Very briefly, and inshallah we'll go into the details tomorrow inshallah. But very briefly, because through fasting we learn how to keep this animal controlling its desires and have the ruh rule our life. That no, you can't eat. You will be doing ibadah, but you won't be able to eat. You can't even eat things that are halal for you. Normally things that are halal, I won't even let you touch those things today. So through this we are learning how to keep our life, our ruh alive and stronger, and the one that will be ruling this physical body. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us the life of taqwa and give us the maximum benefit of our ibadah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.